Before I get into today's talk, I wanted to share with you something that I wrote. It's not like I'm trying to pimp out what I wrote, but I had this thought yesterday. I wrote this on Threads, which is like Instagram's version of Twitter. What I said here was, we all agree that the human body needs fully regenerative, nourishing sleep in order to be healthy. Well, I think the human body needs fully regenerative, nourishing food. Not protein shakes, not yogurt bowls, not chicken breast, weight on a food scale. Feasts of food and feasts of sleep. Snacks in either the waking or the resting halves of the circadian clock don't send the signal of abundance that the body needs in order to agree to generate robust health and longevity. So, for whatever it's worth, I know you're here potentially for weight loss, and I market myself as a weight loss nutritionist. And I really do think I have a special skill and process for weight loss that's nonviolent and really supportive. And the trade off is you're going to have to just hang with me for long enough to get it done. But I don't know. I think there's worse places to hang out. But the thing is, we're trying to create this robust health. And I've actually been thinking about this a lot, especially as I age and maybe as we all age. The idea of like healthy aging, that doesn't excite me. Healthy aging. I want robust longevity. I want to be freaking robust. And I think there's a feminine energy to that. I do. I feel like feminine energy is robust. We are flesh. We are emotion. We are robust. And dieting really sharpens the roundness. Feminine energy to me is soft and robust. And dieting makes us sort of pointy and sharp for our whole lives. And I want us to return to this robust, nourished state. So I approach that with food, and it tracks perfectly to sleep. But the thing is, the reason why I wrote that tweet on Threads was because we know that about sleep. We know sleep is meant to be complete and robust and a feast, and you crave the feast of sleep. Well, I want you to put that exact same energy into the feast of food. Like, reclaim your robust, vibrant, full, feminine, healthy energy. Return to that, and then you'll flourish and thrive in the body that you're just obsessed with. Whether or not that body meets the cultural beauty ideal or not, impossible to say, because the cultural beauty ideal is impossible. But this idea of feeling very good, very yes about the state of your body comes down to feasts of food and feasts of sleep and feasting on this feminine robustness. Okay, so anywho, that's the spirit behind today's sleep lesson. And the way I like to approach sleep, I've thought about this long and hard because I love sleep and I consider myself a very good sleeper. Even in the menopause transition, I haven't had any sleep disruptions. But, we've all had a bad night's sleep or some bad night's sleep. And sometimes there's seasons of life that put us into bad nights of sleep. Like anybody who had babies, you had seasons of life where you just weren't sleeping for years. Now, I think most of the women that I work with are beyond that stage of life, but possibly not. Maybe you still have youngsters at home that are keeping you up. But I do think better sleep is available to you. And the way I think that is useful to troubleshoot sleep is to start with the evening wind down. That's really the spirit behind my sleep lesson today, because you already know you need to sleep. I don't need to tell you that you need to sleep or why you need to sleep. You already know you need to sleep. So how are we going to do this, right? There's a few factors I want to talk through. Like, for example, I do think this is another case where hormone therapy comes into play if you're menopausal, because the dysregulation of your reproductive hormones in the menopause transition can be very sleep disruptive. And if that's happening for you, it would be very worth your while to get that sorted out. That's one of the reasons why we want to explore hormone therapy, because you got to sleep. Now, I also will tell you that when you heal metabolically, in the waking part of the circadian cycle and putting all the food where it belongs in the daytime, that has a carryover effect into the sleeping part of the circadian clock. Let's funnel your food in the waking part of the day so that when it tapers to this fine point, and then that will put you into the sleeping part of the day. It's like waking to sleeping, waking to sleeping, waking to sleeping. No, it doesn't stop. So what you do in the waking part of the day affects how you sleep. The way you live your life, the way you move, the way you eat in the waking part of the day is going to influence your sleep. And I think food timing, I believe this to the bottom of my soul, meal timing is a lever to pull. It's just such a pure signal. Oh, now we're eating. Oh, now we're sleeping. Like boom, boom, black and white, baby. We got the waking, fueling hormone, insulin, churning in the waking part of the day. Then we got the resting, repairing hormone, melatonin. And those two hormones are never really in the room at the same time. So you want to put like clear boundaries around where insulin lives and where melatonin lives. And I'm really into this. And one of the benefits people see in my program is, wow, weirdly, my sleep got a little better. I'm not waking up as much in the middle of the night. Did you know that people who are pre-diabetic or insulin resistant, which I was, will sometimes experience blood sugar crashes while they're trying to sleep, and that will wake them up. Blood sugar excursions while you're sleeping, that's not normal. That's not supposed to be happening. That's definitely an abnormality. Fixable. You just got to change meal timing a little bit, change meal composition a little bit, which we're working on, right? We got this. So maybe you've got your meal timing working better for you. So metabolically, you're putting more delineation between your waking and your sleeping halves of the circadian clock. Love that. Maybe you're going to go get a great hormone literate menopause doctor if that's the stage of life you're in, and work on some hormone therapy. And I say work on it because it's not like a one and done. It's a project. You're going to be working on this through your menopause transition, as am I. I personally am buckled into it. It's like, okay, I'm 49 years old almost. I probably have 2 or 3 more years of this, just figuring it out. And then when we get out of the menopause transition, things will this sort of re-normalize, but differently normalize. And then we can take it from there. But during the menopause transition, it'll be just a lot of trial and error. But I don't know, what else are we going to do, right? Time's going to pass anyway. Just going to suffer through it in misery? I'm not. I'm taking that bull by the horns. And I would think you should too. Okay, but then we have more that we can do. And so this is where I really lean on the evening wind down. I think this is the opportunity to make your sleep just more quality. A phrase I use often, and I don't know how to make this phrase sound more appealing to the general public. And this makes perfect sense to me. I have no idea if it makes sense to you. Please tell me if this lands for you, because I say it all the time. The body responds to signal, not math. So the signal we have to send is one of, it's time to go to sleep. So again, meal timing, the funnel, is going to help to do that from a metabolic perspective. Then you have to do a couple other things too. You have to put clear boundaries around, I'm now entering the sleeping or resting half of my circadian clock. And quite frankly, take the 24-hour clock. I think 12 hours of it is fully waking and 12 hours of it is fully resting, even though you only sleep for 8 hours. I do think there's like almost a 12-hour perfect halves to these cycles, okay? Even though you only sleep for 8 hours, that means that 4 hours, so call it 2 hours on either end of your 8 hours of sleep, is around sleep, right? At least. So there's an additional 4 hours around the actual sleeping time in bed that is still part of the resting part of the circadian clock. And I think that's a really cool way of thinking about it. Allow yourself a full 12 hours to do waking stuff and a full 12 hours to do sleeping, resting stuff, and never the twain shall meet. That's an old-timey phrase that I just used. I think it's actually NER, N-E''E'-R. They took the V out. That's how old-timey it is. They didn't even use the letter V. Never the twain shall meet. I think it's just fun to think about it that way. And it also it's like a neat parameter. Because I think sometimes people think they need rules to follow or a plan to follow or just tell me what to do. No, I'm not going to do that because you're a self-determined, autonomous human. And I am a stranger from the internet. Why would I tell you what to do? Instead, I want you to seek to understand thyself biologically to a certain extent. It's fun. Like, I think it's going to be really fun. The stakes are pretty low. It's like, okay, what if I do follow this crazy lady's advice that fully 12 hours of my day is devoted to the art and science of sleeping better? Let's give it a try. Okay, so anyway, this comes into the evening wind down. What this does is it sends a clear signal to your body that we are done with waking activities. We are now on to the resting half. So now your sort of waking hormone, one of them, there's many hormones that keep us awake and active and doing stuff. But the one I like to think about is insulin, the fueling hormone, especially since we're talking about weight loss, and insulin has a role in that. Insulin's like, okay, we've kind of tapered our meal timing to dinner time. We're not snacking and munching all night in front of the TV. We've definitely put the kibosh on eating at a reasonable time. Let's call it, I'm just going to put some random parameters. 12 hours, I said, of waking, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Random, okay? Let's just say that's your 12 hours of waking stuff. So from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. now, the other half of the circadian clock, we're not doing resting stuff. So that involves not eating, because the eating is an awake thing to do. You've probably heard to stop eating before bed, but nobody really told you why. You're like, oh, because it makes you fat? No, it's because a little chaotic hormonally speaking. And hormones I'm speaking of are insulin and melatonin, okay? So let's say you have your dinner time, 6:37, whatever it is. We can be flexible with this. There's no hard and fast 7 p.m. rule. I'm just using this as an example. But after your dinner meal, you're like, okay, we're done eating now. Clean the kitchen. Maybe you'll take an after dinner walk with the dog or without the dog or with the kids, the full family, take the husband, whatever. That is now kicking off your evening wind down, right? So cleaning up the kitchen, taking a walk, putting the kids to bed, maybe watching TV, maybe even having a scroll. I'm into it. I mean, it's not the best way to prepare your brain for sleep to be looking at screens, but if the act of the scroll is like, I'm going to sit on the couch and just see what's going on my social feeds, I'm into it. I like the idea of darkening your house. Like in my house, I have almost no overhead lights. I live in kind of a weird little cottage. And there's not a lot of overhead lights, but I have like 47 lamps in my house, at least, if not more. And I'm turning on and turning off lamp light for whatever it's worth. Here's a weird little anecdote. I happen to have thousands of incandescent light bulbs stockpiled in a shed because I hate LED light. I don't like it. I like warm, soft, incandescent light that doesn't flicker and make my eyeballs buzz out of my head. So I have incandescent light bulbs, lamps everywhere. I'm dimming and turning lamps on and off to create darkness, an amber hue of light, that sort of sunset vibe. You know, we're old creatures, and the sunset was a very clear sign that, okay, the day's over, can't do much else. Like before we had, electricity, the day had to end when it got dark. You couldn't do anything else. So now we're living in this modern world, but we're actually ancient creatures. Modern humans trying to run old software in a modern world is a bit of a mismatch. So we're trying to sort of replicate what it would have been like before we were so damn busy all the time. I don't know about you, but sometimes after dinner is when I open up my laptop and get a little bit of work done. This is one of the things. We have stuff to do. Maybe you got to run the kid out to a friggin' 9 p.m. soccer game. I don't know why they're so late, but maybe you have a 9 p.m. soccer game. Maybe you're like me and you're self-employed and you have to work all hours of the day, including after dinner. Well, the work that I do after dinner is part of my evening wind down. So after dinner, I might go in and clear some emails, something simple, or just respond to some Facebook comments, or get into the group chat with my client. Something that's just sort of like nice. That's not stressful, right? I compartmentalize a little bit. Like I will open my laptop, clearing the emails and just kind of getting things off my plate like that feels like part of my evening wind down. I can reframe it like that in my mind, because you might hear people say, do not work in the evening. And that might be unrealistic for you. And this has to be realistic for you. And if I say to you, anytime after dinner, you have to stop doing stuff, and you're like, but my kid has a soccer game. What am I supposed to do? I have to drive to the soccer game and be there. You have to live your life. But can we change the energy of everything that happens basically after dinner and reframe it as, I'm bringing down my nervous system state. I am quietening my energy. I am darkening my environment. I am sliding into the resting part of the day. That's what I want you to do. I want you to contemplate this as everything that happens after dinner is now in the spirit of going to sleep. Everything. I touched on it just a second ago, but there's a nervous system regulation component to this. We have to quieten the mental noise a lot. We have to just sort of quieten the little brain, make everything feel safe and cozy. For example, when I am clearing emails at 8 p.m., I'm not doing it here in my office. I'm sitting out on the couch under a blanket with a warm cup of tea or glass of wine and enjoying the process, making it feel nice. Then, there's basic sleep hygiene. Basic stuff that you've heard a million times that it's not even worth the cost of admission here for me to tell it to you, but I will. So start darkening your environment. You might want to wear like yellow glasses or orange ones if you're a real super nerd, because this makes an amber light hue in your world. Your bedroom should be quiet, cool, dark. I really like the idea as well of making your bedroom a sleep sanctuary. So this feels really important to me. It's kind of a home decor nerd. I like my bedroom to feel very luxurious, just like, linens and pillows and beautiful drapery, and the furnishings are unchaotic. I don't have a TV in there. I don't even have a dresser in there because dressers are chaotic. A legitimate sleep sanctuary where the only thing that really happens in there is sleeping. I don't work in bed. I don't want to watch TV in bed. We're putting boundaries kind of around the room. The room itself, cool, dark, quiet. The cool is an interesting one. The body temperature thing is really specifically interesting. I just want to touch on it for a second because, first of all, we tend to like to make our bedroom like super cozy. So maybe you have a heated blanket or a weighted blanket or heavy duvets, or maybe you warm your bedroom because it feels warm like a cocoon, but your body temperature drops considerably as part of the sleep process. So when we warm it up, we're kind of fighting against that natural sleep process. So cooling off your bedroom is a really good idea. By the way, just anecdote. Anybody out there ever go tent camping? I love tent camping. One of the best parts about tent camping is that it cools off so much at night when you're in a tent, and the sleeps are so good. They really are so good. You don't think you're going to have a good sleep in a tent, but it's like some of the best sleeps ever. So this cooling of the bedroom, especially, the reason I'm mentioning is because especially if you are in the menopause transition and body temperature changes are one of your symptoms, a lot of times when I speak to women who don't sleep through the night, and I'll say, okay, tell me what woke you up. Was it discomfort? Was it a noise? Was it pain? Was it your bladder? What was it? Quite often it's body temperature. Got warm. Warmth will wake you up. Warmth does wake you up. The body warms itself to wake itself up in the morning. We don't want to be warm at night when we're sleeping. So the coolness thing is very crucial. And the reason I'm mentioning is because one of my all-time favorite only health gadgets. Okay, I'm going to mention this health gadget to you. And I just want to preface this by saying, I think I do have a discount code, but I'm not mentioning it to give you this discount code because this gadget is actually quite expensive. But I saved up for it. I bought it for myself. It is my favorite health gadget of all time. It is a bed cooling device. So this is a water-cooled mattress pad, and I can adjust the temperature. So I have it set so that it turns on at about 9:15 and starts to cool my bed before I'm even in it. Then when I get in the bed, it immediately cools my core body temperature down because I'm lying on this cooling mattress pad. It's not like a fan or an open window or an air conditioning, which is blowing cold air on me, and I'm still under the blankets trying to stay warm. This is cooling me underneath the blankets. So I still get the benefit of being under the blankets, which is nice, but I'm also cool. It's the best. The one I have is by a company called sleep.me, and I have a device called an Ooler, which runs off an app, and you can set the cooling setting. It's been the most amazing thing. I haven't had a hot flash. I have not woken up with a night sweat. It's awesome, but it's a couple $1,000. So, it's not cheap. You don't need to get it because there's lots of other ways you can cool yourself off. You can open a window. You can run a fan. You can get lighter blankets. And you know what? I know it sounds uncozy to be cool in bed, but this is actually what your sleep hormone melatonin is trying to create. It's trying to cool you off. And we're fighting against it by putting the heated blanket on. We need to roll with the rhythms of the body here. We're trying to do that a little bit. So I think the coolness of the room is an overlooked sometimes sleep hygiene tactic, right? You already know to go to bed at a reasonable hour, keep your phone out of your bedroom. You already know some of this stuff. Like, I don't need to tell you this. But I think the body and bed cooling is one of the factors that it would be worthwhile to front burner. Sleeping is metabolically crucial. It's crucial for your fat loss journey and for your robust feminine health journey, which I talked about at the beginning. Crucial. You already know it. You already want to sleep better. I already know you do. You wish you could sleep better. All I can tell you is that when you do finally get sleep improving, it is absolutely life-changing. It feels amazing. And I do want you to try to play with the evening wind down as the tactic to create this for yourself. You're already doing a lot of good work for your sleep quality by eating in the funnel shape. Circadian meal timing, that's what that is. The funnel is circadian meal timing. One of its purposes is to reorient the hormone insulin, this waking hormone that is determining where fuel goes. One of the other purposes is to reorient the hormone melatonin, which helps you sleep. And really creating these wake, sleep cycles, this pure 24-hour metabolic rhythm that you've been in since you were conceived, and that a lot of weird, contrived wellness programming has confused you with not just wellness programming, but also the modern human experience of being busy, hectic, grinding, hustling all the time. It's not working for us. We got to put sleep on our radar. So how do you sleep better? Well, you have to make it a priority. And to make it a priority, you have to devote 12 hours of your life to it every day. But again, most of this is in the spirit of winding down to your bedtime, which I hope is around 10 p.m. Could be 9, could be 11, just close to 10 p.m. is such a perfect bedtime. Sleep for 8 hours, wake up at 6. If you wake up at 6, you're going to have a little hour or two of waking up time. So remember that 12 hours? It's like we have a wind down, we have sleep, and then we have a wind up into waking. It's not just like jump out of bed and like you're on. And I do that in my job too. Sometimes I have to be on Zoom by 7 in the morning, but I try to get up early enough where I can have a little gentle entry into the waking part of the day, because I'm trying to have this full 12-hour resting circadian moment before I get into my 12 hours of waking, generally speaking. I want to share one more anecdote. When I go on a beach vacation every winter, like I'm sure many of you do, and beaches, warm places, are generally down near the equator. They're definitely further south than where I live, up in Alberta, Canada. My favorite place to go is Belize. It's in Central America, so getting pretty close down to equator-ish realm. And the days, from a sunlight perspective, are almost perfect 12 and 12. Almost perfect 12 hours of daylight, perfect 12 hours of darkness. Unlike here, because like here in the summertime, we have 15 hours of daylight and then it's dark for a while. And then in the winter, it flips the other way. Like if you don't live equatorial, what are you going to do? You can move to the equator. You certainly can if you want, but you probably can't. But when I go to Belize, I have the most perfect sleeps ever because the environment around me is telling me that there's a 12-hour delineation between sleeping and waking. The sun goes down at like 6 p.m. So you're in bed by 8, resting, reading, up at 5 or 6 in the morning. Perfect sleep. Like the sleeps I have in Belize are so perfect because there's no doubt about it. Time to rest. The sun went down. We can perturb that system when we're at home doing our thing with lights and with stuff we have to do. Granted, I'm also on vacation when I'm in Belize, so I'm more relaxed generally. But I think it's just a good thought experiment. Like, how could you recreate the amazing sleeps you get? People often say when they go on vacation, they like lose weight a little bit. And I think it's because you're actually relaxing into normal circadian rhythm. I mean, I'm putting a lot of stake in this, right? But returning to this cycle only has upside metabolically. I will leave that with you. Sleeping is really important. So tonight, after dinner, I want you to just in your mind think, okay, now my evening wind down starts. So I'm going to quieten my nervous system state. I'm going to relax. I'm going to do just simple, gentle chores. Or if I do have to drive the kids to a 9 p.m. soccer game, I'm going to bring a book with me or listen to nice music in the car while they're playing or whatever you do. Or I want you to single task this to the best of your ability because we're really good multitaskers, but that's not the energy that your body and brain are expecting when it's in the resting half of the circadian clock. You can do all your multitasking in the waking part, but when it comes time to wind down to sleep, I kind of want you to be like really focused on that because if you sleep well, it will help you with everything you want help with here immensely.